more present. We're moving from the gross to the subtle as we move today. So because it's a rainy day and I'm feeling tamasic, sort of a little bit heavy, I thought maybe we'd start standing and just wake up a little bit. So I like to start with my feet about shoulder width apart, and maybe just start, I think Michelle had helped us with this the last time she was here, just by pounding the heels of your feet into the mat a little bit. We can soften our knees slightly as well. So we're starting to feel that guna kind of come alive and shake loose, whatever. We can even shake. I mean, I'd like to do that too a little bit, maybe just your hands. And then go ahead and just tap your toes. Start to feel the grounding in your feet, that space beneath you that holds you steady when you feel that uneasiness. Beautiful. Let's go ahead and just do a little bit of you can even go off your toes if you like. I like to bounce. It's probably one of my favorite things to do sometimes. It helps move that lymph. It's actually one of the best ways to move the lymph in your body, that massage and deep breathing. So go ahead and bring your feet about shoulder width apart. Maybe just pause, feel that, feel the breath, maybe soften your gaze. Bring your arms out wide to the side, and you can just do a little bit of a turn side to side. Let the head of the arm bones kind of release out of the shoulder socket. So as we practice today, we keep moving from the macro, from the outside exterior to the interior. It's our yoga, it's our union. Our practice and our recovery is to come from a place of authenticity, releasing the idea of control. Bringing it on back to center when you're ready. Go ahead and just open those legs a little bit wider. Let's wake up the lower half of the body a little bit. I like to just come into a squat for a moment. Take it into a deep squat, and maybe even your elbows can rest onto the tops of your thighs. And just feel into your feet, really down into the lower legs, the upper thighs. So by doing this, we can actually increase the heart rate without a lot of aerobics, jumping around. But it helps really build the heat and begin our practice to kind of dislodge and move those cliches, those impediments to the freedom that we're seeking in our practice, in our recovery, in our life. To ourselves to be that bridge, to be that place of continuity for the release of all. And then you can go ahead and unbend those knees, kind of drop back into it for a moment. I like to stack my ribs directly over my hips, so you can even bring the heels of your hands into the inner parts of their upper femur and kind of rest there for a moment. It gets a little tricky here, but we're kind of finding that energy moving up through the bottoms of the feet all the way to the crown. You can go ahead and unbend those knees, let your head hang, and come all the way up, one vertebrae at a time. Slowly coming to standing here, come all the way up into a full extension. So we can reach with our shoulders coming out of the head of the arm bones really kind of coming out of the shoulder socket. You might be able to see it in mine. Just as far as you can go, and then look up towards the ceiling. Let your upper back arch, and then exhale. You can swan dive forward, roll up one vertebrae at a time, and just give yourself time and space here to slowly move, to find that space of the breath and the movement. You can create your own cadence within your own body, exhaling. Everything is about the vibration matched with the intention, and then the flow just naturally happens. Good, so let's try it just one more time here. Exhaling, inhaling, rolling up. Beautiful. So let's bring our left foot forward in kind of a lunge position, just a short lunge position. And then we can bring our arms forward and back in a swinging motion, kind of like the ocean tide coming in. The good news is when you look at the tide, it comes back and recedes, it gains energy, and then it moves back out again. So we can think about ourselves as that ocean wave. It's nice to be able to come back to our Sangha, to true freedom, to the group energy that creates that protection, and then move back out again in the world. So we can switch it out to the other side when you're ready. And again, it's almost like you're sitting on that bench sliding back and forth. So you're waking up that connection to the earth as well. And then just kind of let it swing. You think of yourself as that ocean wave. Beautiful. Let's bring it on back to center. Go ahead and just bring your feet about shoulder width apart again. And let's take it back into that swing just one more time, side to side. See if you can look a little farther behind you. And then when you're ready, widen your feet just a little bit. And with that left arm, go ahead and just take the left arm out to the right side. Almost like you're hitchhiking. Bring that thumb up, hitchhike all the way back. You guys remember those hitchhiking days? I don't think I ever really truly did, but go on back that way. So it's the palm is down as you come across, and then we're going to hitchhike back. Good. So you can feel that rotation in your shoulder as well. Beautiful. You can get kind of dramatic with it. Really kind of feel that opening in the shoulder, open up in the chest, in the front of the chest, middle of the upper back. And then when you're ready, just bring that elbow down to the knee for a moment. And just bring it all the way around in a full circle. So waking up the big limbs first, and then we'll come settle down onto the mat on our backs. Work a little bit with pranayama. Finishing with yourself back, full standing. We'll bring it on back to that opposite arm. So again, you have that shoulder, elbow, wrist. It kind of happens in progression. And you can feel it really from the front of the chest to the middle of the upper back. Kind of operates as a wave. So we can feel ourselves moving out into all of our faults, all of the ways that we move in the world from patterns that no longer serve us. And we can draw back, reevaluate, and come back into the mix again. It's the nature of creation. It's how it's supposed to be. Beautiful. Let's bring that elbow down onto the top of the thigh. Pause here for a moment and feel the full rotation of that shoulder all the way around. Full what they call circumduction. All the way around in that shoulder girdle. And the breath can match. Finding the four corners of your mat, the recesses of your own mind, the depth of the silence in your own soul. And then when you're ready, you can bring it all the way back up to standing. One more lift up here, big inhale. Beautiful. And bring it all the way, swan dive forward, coming all the way down. Finishing with a nice little hang here with your head shaking yes and no. Find that breath full and deep. Hear it in between your own ears. And create that pattern, that cadence to your own breath. And when you're ready, you can roll up one vertebrae at a time. Beautiful. Let's go ahead and come down to a lying down position on the mat. So give yourself a moment to kind of settle into the back body. Again, you can feel the earth element here supporting you as you come down all the way to a lying down position. So we come to, in the first step in recovery, to know that there is so much disorganization that it shakes us loose. It gives us the chance to move with that rajasic energy and see it's never ending. There will always be more. We have no control of that. So we come to our back as we release into the surrender of knowing that. and feeling the breath full and deep, or however it's showing up in your body. Allowing for however we reference that chaos, or as if chaos. So we can feel the belly maybe down into, or the breath down into our belly to begin. Maybe place our hands on the belly. I always like to begin with that 3-part breath if I can. The breath is the bridge which creates that unity, consciousness from self to self, higher self to lower self, or real to unreal. Sometimes it takes a while to find the breath in the belly. You can move on up at your own pace, but next we'll find our way. You can stay lying down. I'm going to sit up for a moment. But you can bring your fingertips to the front of your rib cage and your thumbs to the side of your barrel of your chest. Feel the lateral expansion side to side in that rib cage. This is the most excitement in the pattern of breathing that I can feel. Really is a breakthrough for me when I can open up that barrel chest and allow the diaphragm to move freely. You might be feeling that in your own body. Remembering it all begins in the mind, but even the inception is deeper into our heart, our soul, all the chakras. And then when you're ready, you can find that breath all the way up into the upper chest. Maybe place one hand on the clavicle or up near the neck somewhere. And then find the fullness of that breath all the way up into the back palate of the throat, cranium. The crown chakra. Just allow yourself here maybe to marry all 3 together and rest in that peace and openness. As we come to our, after our asana practice, to our meditation, this is the peace and the openness and the beginning of that march to the silence. You may feel a pause at the exhale at the bottom of the breath. Maybe just catch the breath slightly as you exhale. Let the energy build. And then as you're reaching, searching, just like we do, crying out for that spirituality, you open to the oxygenation of the blood, of the movement, of the energy, and the inhale. Diaphragm falls down and away. And then you can pause at the very top of the breath slightly. Exhaling, inhaling in that same pattern, pausing slightly, opening freely. Here we are on this path to mastery together, individually, separately. There's great comfort in the stillness in our practice. Even in this stillness, there's movement, the opening of the breath, flow of the oxygen. We can begin by lifting our arms up in kind of a sleepwalking position towards the ceiling. And then when you're ready, let the arms fall towards the wall behind, pausing there with a nice release between the hip and the rib cage on either side. Maybe even stretch that right arm and the right leg in opposite directions. And then the left arm and the left leg in the opposite direction, pressing through the heel of the feet. Just big inhale and a nice ha exhale into the back of the body, into the mat. Maybe your arms lift back up towards the ceiling and you begin that cadence again of matching movement and breath as you draw the hands down towards the hips and then back up towards the ceiling. Your feet can rest on the mat or you with your knees bent, or you can have your legs long, whichever your back prefers. So continuing with that same pattern, inhaling as you lift, exhaling as you lower. One of my favorite quotes is, "Everything that slows us down and forces patience, everything that sets us back into the slow cycles of nature is a help." That's by May Sarton. Beautiful. You can bring your arms out wide to the side, and on the next inhale, full and deep, let those knees fall over to the exhale onto the left side. You can pause here with that right arm all the way up towards the wall behind. Drawing the belly button in towards the spine, you can feel the release of that side body. The breath move into that right rib cage, expanding laterally through the ribs. And then when you're ready, you can take it back with the inhale towards center. Let those knees fall to the opposite side on that exhale. Pause there with that left arm towards the wall behind. Take just a few breaths here, feeling the breath in that left rib cage. Another quote I like is, "We're all in the same boat, radiant and broken." It's by Cy Safransky. So when you're ready, you can bring your knees back to center, your chest. You might feel that space at the base of the spine. Maybe massage it out side to side a little bit. Really squeeze those knees in if you can. And then push your knees towards your hands and feel the top of the femur kind of settle more into the hip socket, if that makes sense. Go ahead and draw those knees close in. Round your nose towards your knee and pause there for a moment. Feel that rounding of the mid-back. And then exhale, release, and draw your knees away from you, holding on to them still. And then when you're ready, you can lift both legs towards the ceiling. Go ahead and open wide towards the side. Get a nice stretch in that inner thigh. Exhale back to center. So as you move, become aware of your vision, what you're looking at. Maybe just see if you can draw yourself closer with what you're looking at, where your focus becomes more eventually internal. Bringing both our feet together and back flat onto the mat, we can lift our hips into a bridge, finding that articulation through the spinal column all the way up through the vertebrae, and then releasing back down again, finding that fullness all the way down to the tailbone and then back up towards the shoulder girdle. A great place here is to move the lymph on either side of the spinal column all the way up to bathe the brain. It's a mini inversion. We have our hips are higher than our heart, so it facilitates the blood flow back to the heart, which is good for that muscle. So finishing with our hips back flat onto the mat, go ahead and bring your right foot over that left knee. We'll do just a little bit of a hip opener on that right side. Draw that knee in towards the chest and then flex both feet. So the more muscle energy you can draw to the limbs, I always say the more bang for your buck. You can draw skin to muscle and muscle to bone all the way to center. You can lift that bottom leg towards the ceiling if you like, and then maybe even draw your nose towards your knee. Releasing back down again. Switching it out to the opposite side when you're ready. Sometimes in my practice, I bring my awareness to my breath and add a mantra. You can, on the inhale, say so. On the exhale, say hum. It kind of brings another meditative quality to the cadence of the breath. It's the inspiration mantra, so, and the decharging hum. And then when you're ready, bring both feet back flat onto the mat. And just a few more knee sways here to release out that lower back a little bit more. Finishing with our knees towards the right side, with that right foot lifted up to the top of that left knee, kind of drawing that left hip down a little bit. Just one more nice big release with that left arm reaching towards the wall behind. You can kind of do a clock motion with that left arm. Bend the elbow slightly and just kind of draw it down to the 6 notion or number on a clock, and then back up to the 12. You get a nice range of motion. Your arm can be resting on the ground if that feels better, or it can be just inches away from the ground. Finishing with our feet back flat onto the mat, releasing back to the opposite side with that left foot on top of the right knee. I can hear thunder out there moving. And that right arm towards the wall behind again. Finding a release in that hip on the right side. Bringing it on back to center. So we're really kind of finding that eye of the storm. I don't know if it's raining in your neighborhoods, but drawing in from that Rajasic energy, moving through the Tamasic to that place, that silence, the place of sweet surrender. Basking in that bliss. Bringing it on back to both feet flat onto the mat. Let's go ahead and just roll to the left side. Bring your left arm underneath your ear, and then draw that right knee way up towards the chest almost, the top leg, as much as you can anyway. You can lengthen that leg long if you like, and then with that right arm lifting towards the ceiling, you can draw back towards the right side of the room and get a nice twist in your torso. You can always bend that knee if it's too much to have a straight leg. You can look with your gaze down that right arm. Maybe you might feel the right shoulder blade touching down into the mat. And again, you can kind of do a clock motion with that right arm here a little bit, with that bent elbow or straight arm if it feels okay. Finishing back onto your back, slowly unwinding, coming back to both knees into your chest again, reset that back of the sacrum, back of the hips. So following again on the other side, we'll roll over to our right side. So that left knee can draw up towards the chest a little bit or lengthen long. And then you can find that left arm opening towards the left side of the room. With your gaze moving down towards the fingers, you can find that nice twist. You can think like a dish rag. It squeezes out all of the internal organs. So it's a great place to breathe even though you feel constriction, because the oxygen that you take in when you untwist flows freely to all those parts, opens up the energy, stagnation of energy. Beautiful. You can come back out of the twist, bring your knees back in towards your chest. And then when you're ready, you can roll up or just sit up to a seated position. Actually, we'll come to an all fours position when you're ready. So finding that equanimity that we gathered in our breathing and our movement, we'll kind of move into more of a flow. So with both hands underneath your shoulders, go ahead and open up your fingers wide, press firmly into the mat. Maybe just bring your hands just slightly forward of your shoulders. Draw your elbows, come into a chaturanga or modified plank, and draw your elbows kind of close to your rib cage if you can. Kind of like we did earlier, we woke up in the legs. We're going to wake up in that upper body, the back of the upper arms. Kind of feel that plank position. Belly button draws in. You can feel that weight. Where does it lie on the hands? Can you kind of disseminate it? I don't know if that's the right word, but spread it out to the fingertips. And then when you're ready, come all the way back into that child's pose. Pause there for a moment to breathe. Lengthen those arms long and just rock it out side to side. Give a nice rocking motion here. The quote I like is, be a lamp or a lifeboat or a ladder. That one's by Rumi. One of those. When you're ready, bring yourself back up into that all fours position. And then bring your hands slightly forward again. Come into that modified plank. We're waking up Mother Nature here. Norwood is really storming. Bring it back into that child's pose. And then back up into that all four modified plank. Elbows close into the sides. Again, matching that movement with breath. So we're generating vibration energy, which wakes up our heart, our mind, our third eye, our clarity consciousness. On this last one, you can go ahead and come all the way flat down onto the mat, bringing our elbows where our hands were. So our determination is what drives our practice, drives our recovery, keeps us honest, authentic, keeps us moving in the right direction. So from here, you can go ahead and lift your belly, let your gaze move towards your navel. And then when you're ready, go ahead and release back down again. So waking up those muscles along the front of the spine. Feeling that release and the surrender in the front body as well. So everything is a ritual and a prayer. Every movement, every moment. Finishing with that belly flat. You can go ahead and extend that right arm all the way out towards the front of the room. Lifting that left leg. And then bringing the left hand where the elbow is. We can go ahead and push off of that left hand. Reach that left leg all the way out towards the right side of the mat. And then maybe even place it on the floor somewhere. With that left hand reaching, it's just another version of the twist, but it's different. Kind of a wild thing on the floor twist. So your left arm reaches towards the ceiling. And you can find a nice little baby back, or nice little back opener, or front heart opener, whatever you want. If my words would come, that would be good. Inhaling full and deep here, just kind of reveling in it. Opening up that constriction in front of the heart, those places where we're afraid, where we feel separation. Exhaling, bringing the belly back towards the mat. Go ahead and bring that right hand underneath the shoulder. Left arm reaches all the way long towards the front of the room. So your right foot is lifting. You can bend that knee slightly and then push off that right hand, rolling. You can find a nice release in that hip flexor on the right thigh. Bend that knee, bring it all the way down, and then open up the breath, the back body. Exhaling, release. That rain just speaks of surrender. It's the washing all the impurities, all those parts of ourselves that believe in separation. And we'll bring it back to the belly when you're ready, and then just windshield wiper those feet side to side. Maybe returning to the breath or your mantra or affirmation, whatever brings you back to the center. We're using the power of the group to create momentum, determination, dedication, discipline, find our way together separately. So we'll bring our hands back where our elbows were, come up into a little baby cobra. Find that space in the mid-back, the rhomboids. You can raise it all the way up if you like. Root down into the front of the hips and come into a full cobra. Go ahead and look over your right shoulder and then your left. Bring it on down to a little baby cobra. And as if draw your kind of army crawl a little bit. Find that release in the lower back. A little bit of traction in the lower spine. And then go ahead and lift up into that all fours position again. Draw back into that child's pose. Pausing there for a moment. You can just rest your third eye right onto the mat. Feel the breath deep into the front of the belly and to the mid-back. All the way up into the third eye. It's where victory happens, when we can pull the silence from the depth of our essence through the heart up into the action place in the third eye, interface with the world from that clarity and connection. As you exhale, you can find your way back to that all fours position on the mat. We'll come into a little bit of a gate pose here with that right hand onto the mat and the right knee. You can turn out to the left side of the mat, lengthening that left leg long, and then opening out towards the left side with that left arm reaching towards the ceiling. You can draw that arm all the way towards the ear if you like, and just embellish it a little bit, kind of find movement in that action for yourself, whatever that is. Just explore that for yourself. Move maybe in a rounded position or maybe into more of a back bend. Let's see if you can't move this gate pose around a little bit. Add that breath. When you're ready, you can bring it back to an all fours position on the mat. If you can use my cues as a rough draft, you can open up into your own expression of the pose, turning towards the opposite side, opening with that right arm towards the ceiling. Again, you can find that fullness of the expression from the little baby side, toe side of the foot, all the way to the little pinky side of the hand. And then kind of engage with it a little bit, make it dramatic. Find that movement and the breath and the space of your own essence moving through the yantra of your own body. And then when you're ready, bring it on back to an all fours position on the mat. Let's drop back again one more time into that child's pose. This time let's walk both hands to the right side of the mat. There's some moves that just fit into every practice because they're just so effective. But we can change it up a little bit. We can find our focus in the breath or the muscle energy. Press the shins of your feet down firmly into the mat, or the shins of your legs and the tops of your feet, and push through the base and see if that doesn't change a little bit. Feel the belly lift up away from the top of the thighs. So there's always movement even in the stillness. Go ahead when you're ready and walk those hands to the opposite side. Pause here for a moment and breathe. Bringing ourselves back to center when you're ready. Come into that all fours position again. So we'll move up into a down dog, a nice big inversion. So as we move, actually, let's begin here in this all fours position one time, sorry. Got everybody up there and then brought you back down. So if we can just take one moment to see if we can organize our shoulders and our arms a little bit. So with your arms, with your hands fully spread, go ahead and let the eyes of the elbows turn in towards each other. So you might see my arms. I can barely see my arms, but this is kind of what's happening. So you have an inner rotation with that forearm in, and then against that, or in reference to that, you have this upper arm rotating out and down. So you have this inner bicep opening. That makes sense. Usually if you can just language it in your own mind, it'll happen. And then the belly slightly lifts. Now we have a nice integrated shoulder girdle, which we can lift up into that down dog. So if you can just feel the top of that arm bone settle back into the shoulder socket by rotating that upper arm back and down. Good. Drawing your shoulders away from your ears. Beautiful. Adding that breath full and deep. Feeling your drishti, your gaze, wherever that focus is. Hold determination and dedication in that drishti. Focus for you to move forward in your life. Open to the clarity, consciousness. Beautiful. Let's come into a plank position. Or again, if you like that modified plank, it's up to you. And then we'll just toggle between those two, originating the movement from the belly button, drawing towards the spine. So it's like a wave again. It's like those football waves are moving from the front body, letting that be where the movement originates from, and then lifting and lowering at your own pace. So here we, again, are really using that rajasic energy to wake up in the upper body, to feel the movement through the whole body here. Add that breath. And then when you're ready, go ahead and walk your feet forward. Come with your elbows onto the tops of your thighs. Pause here for a moment. Just a short stop position, coming into that nice squat. So just without fixing or changing it, notice where your belly lies. Notice where, what's happening with the lower belly. You can go ahead and lift the belly up away from the top of the thighs and hold on to that small contraction for a moment. It helps you to hold on to that most times and then release your head down towards the mat. Go ahead and come back into that squat. Look to your feet. See if you can't find your toes, or sit back into your heels a little more to find your toes. And then unbend again. So you can let your arms hang here and even do a little bit of a waterfall side to side. Kind of open up the side bodies a little bit. And then when you're ready, you can roll up one vertebrae at a time. Let's come back to that Tadasana position on the mat with the palms together in front of the heart. We'll match a few of those together and do a little bit of vinyasa. So with our knees slightly bent, shoulder blades down the back, give yourself a moment here to reintroduce yourself to that silence, allowing for that intention or sankalpam to arise again. Recommitting to your practice, to your recovery. Inhaling full and deep, exhaling to the arms to the side. Inhale, lift, exhale, swan dive forward. Coming halfway up into that box pose. Pause here for a moment, just 3 big breaths right into that barrel chest. Feel the diaphragm really float. On the 3rd breath, you can let your head hang. You can jump or walk your feet back into that down dog, plank, modified plank. And then all the way to chaturanga up into the baby cobra or full cobra. So you guys know this one. Just go ahead and flow through it for yourself. Come into that down dog when you're ready. You can jump or hop your feet forward, whichever you prefer, halfway up on the box pose. Any place you can pause, you can. You can let your head hang, roll up one vertebrae at a time, come all the way to standing. So my cues are just for suggestion. You take it at your own pace, at your own movement, discretion. So inhaling full and deep, exhaling, lifting up. Swan dive forward. Let's do 2 flows here at your own pace. I'm just going to let you kind of flow through it, go with it. You can challenge yourself or just go easy on it. It's up to you. Let's find that internal cadence. Last one here. It's you and the divine, connecting. You're matching the chaos, finding your way through, like goddesses and gods, wielding our weapons. Go ahead and finish in that Tadasana. Stay lifted. Pause there for a moment and breathe. So we're rooting down into our feet. Go ahead and come into a chair position from here. So we'll be in a bent knee position, our arms up by our ears. It's kind of what they call a kinetic chain. And it is a great way to notice and feel imbalances in the body. So just give it a go with a big ha, just a nice ha, and then back up again. Let those arms really swing out of the shoulder socket. Up, and then 2 more here. Finishing with our arms lifted. Go ahead and pause here for a moment. Press into that left foot. Turn this way, and then really push through that left arm towards the ceiling in a moon pose, I think. Crescent pose. And take it back the opposite side. So get a nice side release. Add that opening. Beautiful. Bring it on back to center. Let's go ahead and just shake it all out for a moment. Just open those legs up a little bit. Have a nice swing side to side. Give a good release. And then when you're ready, we'll bring it on back to a seated position. So let's go ahead. If you have a cushion, you can sit on one. If you'd rather just have a seat on the mat, that's fine too. So let's just take a moment here. We had a lot of movement, a lot of rajas. Kind of see if we can move a little bit into the tapas, or to the sattvic. Do a little bit of pranayama. So with our thumb to the right side of our nostril, you can place the next 2 fingers down, and this 3rd finger can be for the left side. So you can press into that right nostril, breathe through the left on the inhale, and then close that left nostril and exhale out the right. Just continue with that. Close the right nostril with your thumb, inhale through the left, and then close the left nostril, and then exhale through the right. You can soften your gaze, close your eyes, continue that. Inhale through the left, exhale through the right. You can add mantra here. As you inhale, you can say YAM, Y-A-M. As you exhale, you can say Mam, M-A-M, with bejas of the Sri chakra, the yantra of life, of nature. Yam on the inhale, Mam on the exhale. Just 2 more rounds here. Beautiful. Let's bring it on back to center. So we'll bring our left leg out to the side. This left leg. With our right foot into the inner thigh. So I guess they can see, yeah. And we'll just turn over in a nice twist towards that right leg, towards that left leg. Just start a nice forward bend, which is great anytime, but especially at the end of our practice, helps bring the heart rate down. Give yourself time with each exhale to kind of feel that release. So you have these stabilizing muscles in the right lower half of the back. You can feel those letting go a little bit deeper. If you imagine you have a ton of bricks on that right hip, right at that hip crease, rooting down, press down there and then lift up through the rib cage. Just a couple more breaths here. Another quote, a favorite quote. The soul itself does nothing if you do nothing. But if you light a fire, it chops wood. If you make a boat, it becomes the ocean. That's Robert Bly. Let's bring it on back up again. So we lit a fire today. We're bringing it down a little bit and towards the end of our practice. So it's that play the gunas as we move. We can take it to the opposite side. So our right leg is long, left leg is turned in. We begin with a twist first. If you can feel that almost like the left rib cage coming across to the right hip bone. Sometimes I even manually do that in my belly, just kind of bring it across first, and then start to feel that forward motion of the heart. That exhale, take you deeper into the release. So we're rooting down into that left hip to rise up through the left rib cage. So historically, collectively, in the world, we've sort of beat ourselves up with our mind, which hasn't allowed the essence to peek through. So by softening the mind, moving into our edges, softening them, becoming curious, we can release out whatever's in the way. Bringing it back to center when you're ready. Let's go ahead and release out a little bit in the shoulders. Come back to that cross-leg position on the mat and just lift our left shoulder, then our right. Kind of release out any tension in that shoulder girdle. We can do both shoulders back and forward. This is where we hold a lot of our tension, a lot of our shoulds, a lot of our need to control, to do. We can drop it back into just the being. Beautiful. Let's bring our hands together in a clasp position and palms outward towards the front of the room. Lifting up in a full extension. Find that joy, that space of happiness and contentment, that space of love and connection. We can take it out towards the left side and then the opposite side. So as we begin to think about the march back outward, we can, as a muscle memory, remember onto this sattvic way of being, the silence, the connection to the peace, and then round it out around to a big circle. Bring it back the opposite way when you're ready. And then let's go ahead and bring it back, both hands on top of the thighs. One more time, let's just give our neck and trapezius muscles a little bit of release here. Let's kind of drop the chin to the chest again. Go ahead and, while we're here, walk our hands out forward of yourself onto the mat and feel a nice rounding in that mid-back. See if you can press into your hands, maybe bring your hands fully onto the floor and press into the heels of your hands, which pushes your tailbone down a little deeper, and then round out through that mid-back or rhomboid right there. And then drag the heels of your hands forward, look up towards the front of the room, and then press, let the chin lift. And we can walk back up again. We did something on this side, what did we do? Oh, the head, we'll do the head this way. I knew we had one more stretch to do. So with our ear falling over the right side, we can let that left shoulder release down, or maybe even, we didn't do that on the other side, maybe that right or that left hand comes behind, and then chin to the chest. And sit out. Go ahead and look up towards the ceiling and make some funny faces, little face yoga. I've been doing this a lot more. I kind of noticed I call it my bitch face, I'm allowed to say that. I notice my face getting frozen sometimes in the day. So we all know that it wakes up and regulates us by moving our face, calms that vagus nerve. And then when you're ready, bring it on back to center. Beautiful. Let's go ahead and bring ourselves back down onto the mat for our march to Savasana, and bringing ourselves back to the silence again. Go ahead and fall back down onto your back. Always run out of time at the very end, so we'll give ourselves 3 or 4 minutes to kind of drop into Savasana. Feel ourselves resting in our back body. You can start with your knees bent, or you can lengthen your legs long onto the mat. So you probably have an understanding of yourself being comfortable in this position today, in this moment of now. Allow yourself to drop into whatever feels right. Touch into that silence. Just continuing to rest in the silence. When the five senses are stilled, when the mind is stilled, when the intellect is stilled, that is called the highest state of the wise. They say yoga is this complete stillness in which one enters the unitive state, never to become separate again. If one is not established in this state, the sense of unity will come and go. The unitive state cannot be attained through words or thoughts or through the eye. How can it be attained except through one who is established in this state of oneself? There are two selves, the separate ego and the indivisible Atman. When one rises above I and me and mine, the Atman is revealed as one's real self. When all desires that surge in the heart are renounced, the mortal becomes immortal. When all the knots that strangle the heart are loosened, the mortal becomes immortal. This sums up the teaching of the scriptures. From the heart, there radiate 101 vital tracts. One of them rises to the crown of the head. This way leads to immortality. The others to death. That's from the Upanishads. Death as a teacher. Kata Upanishad. You can begin to bring yourself back to the exterior. Start to feel the movement. Honor as sacred the transition from this moment to the next. And allow for space and gratitude to flow. Eventually you can turn to one side. Find your way to a seated position on the mat. Palms together in front of our heart. Let's just all collectively Om 3 times. And then we'll Namaste. Exhaling full and deep, inhaling. Sending the blessings out, trusting they'll be received. And Namaste. Light in me honors the light in each one of you. Thank you.